Good morning. Good morning. How the devil are you all doing this fine day? How you doing, Steve? Are you recovered from your Bauma what's the word I'm looking for? Exertions. That's the word I'm looking for. Are you recovered? Voice is coming and going, and I am knackered. Absolutely knackered. I don't know what's going on. And the bizarre thing is, my aches and pains are not where you'd expect. I've always come back from Bauma with aching feet. I've kind of got aching thighs. I don't know what that's all about. Morning, everyone. How are you doing? Hope you're all fit and well. Loads and loads of stuff to get through today. Before I actually make a start, I've heard a rumor. Don't normally comment on rumors, but this one is worth noting, I think. I'm just going to say a very quick good morning to Gary Muirhead, who is here. Alex Latham is here as well. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I will press your respective buttons. Just bear with me 1 second while I do that. There we are. There is Gary's button. Apparently, Steve has caught up on some sleep, but he's missing the atmosphere. I'm sure you are. Although you do create the atmosphere yourself, so maybe you should go out on site and hand out some hats or something. Yes, I've heard a rumor. I've heard a very strong rumor that the Competition and Markets Authority is back to take another bite out of the demolition industry. You'll remember last time they looked at specifically at London and the Midlands, and it resulted in fines of 60 million quid. Word on the street is they're now looking at Scotland. Now, this is not the first time I've heard this rumour. Heard it actually a couple of years ago. Didn't come to much, but I heard it again while I was at Bauma, and I've checked with a few people in the region, and they are hearing the same thing. Now, that doesn't prove that there's anything going on. It merely proves that there is a rumour. But there's a rumour nonetheless. I've already written about it. I'm just kind of not entirely sure I want to go public with it because I don't want to upset the apple cart if there's no apple cart to be upset, but there is a rumor. Be aware. Chris Ford has just joined us morning. Chris, loads and loads of stuff to get through this morning. So I tell you what, let me roll the outro. No, better still, as it's the beginning of the show, I'll roll the intro. I'm going to post the question of the day. And I'm going to get the show on the road. Gary Muirhead has just said it's all just rumours, and he's doing a small prep. Listen, there are two possibly good outcomes from this. The first is there is no investigation whatsoever. That would be okay. I tell you what else would be quite nice if there was an investigation and it came to nothing. If those in the Scottish demolition industry were investigated and exonerated, that'd be okay. Wouldn't have a problem with that. My concern, of course, is the fact that they might be investigated and they might be found with their fingers in the cookie jar, in which case we're going to go through that whole process again. Very quickly, before I do press the go button, you will notice, which way do I need to face? You'll notice I've got myself a nice new Bobcat hat. There is a story to this hat. Last time I was over in the Czech Republic at the Debris facility with Bobcat, they offered me a hat, basically. And the one that I wanted was this one. Trouble was, they only had one, and it was in a display case. They didn't actually have any for sale. So I went with something else, which was fine because the Bobcat hats are absolutely fantastic. But lo and behold, get myself over to Bauma, walk on the stand, and what have they got on sale? This beauty. That's why I'm wearing it today. So there we are. Anyway, I've already said, without further ado, roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this show on the road, starting now. A very quick good morning to that fine, upstanding gentleman that is Ken Hatcher. Just joined this morning, Ken. He's got weather. What's it doing where you are? We've got the same as Ken. It is raining. Not particularly heavy rain. You know, that really fine rain that you think, oh, it's not too bad, and you suddenly realise you're soaked through to the skin. That's what we've got today. Anywho, it is Tuesday, the 15th of April. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the Walrus of Demolition, the Lord of Live Streaming. In today's show, we're going to give you a glimpse of the future with Hitachi How Shantui's Bauma stand came together, Caterpillar's technology focus, again at Bauma, and sticking with the Bauma theme for just a little bit longer. In our new Breakfast Show segment, or Breakfast Show at Bauma segment, we'll be touring the stand of Hidromek. And Hidromek were displaying a hydrogen machine. I was dying to do that. I forgot to do it on the film, but Hidromek have gone to hydrogen. Whatever. Plus, in my morning monologue today, the united colours of construction, how a passion for plant brings the industry together. But before we get to all that, we do have the small matter of today's mystery machine. Now, I was about to say that our man Dan Cullen isn't here, but he is, and he says the sun's shining in Gloucester. Very nice too. So let me play the little animation, and then I'll show you the mystery machine. And today is a bit of a special one. Yeah, stand by your beds because today's mystery machine is one that everyone knows, I would have thought. And it looks like that. I realise that's not a huge amount to go on, but I would imagine that all of you guys and girls that are watching have come across this one at some point in the past. What do you reckon? Got anything on that? I'll come back to you in just a moment, Steve, because I do want to give people a bit of a chance to look at that. That is our mystery machine today. If anyone's got any clues, we're looking for a make and a model. While you're figuring that out, let me take that away, and I'll tell you about our question of the day because we've already had an answer from Steve, and I'll be right back after this. Yeah, question of the day today comes from our good friend, Mr. Gary Muirhead, our resident quizmaster. And his question, quite simply, is this: what goal are you working towards right now? Are you learning a language? Are you working towards a qualification? Are you looking to I don't know, extend yourself in some way? What are you working towards? Personally, looking to break the 3,000 Substack subscribers mark. Excuse me. We're only a couple of hundred short now. We've been picking them up maybe one or two a day. I picked up a couple yesterday. I really do need to double down on that because there's some good stuff going on over there. But I've just been so busy with Bauma. But that's what I'm working on, getting our subscribe rate up over on Substack. But Steve Williamson says, keep doing what I'm doing with the demo driving, getting opportunities like Las Vegas again and the trip to Volvo. I always want to be recognized for my operating and passion rather than being the influencer salesperson. Everything is great pish, he says. Yeah, do you know there's a weird thing, and I don't think they fully understand this. Just talking about influencers, the number of people that I saw actually working, they were employed by a brand, an equipment manufacturer, and they were being filmed by one of their colleagues on a mobile phone, doing little dances and doing the TikTok thing. It only works if you're independent. If you work for the company, any sort of credibility you think that that's got has gone out the window, and yet so many people doing it, trying to fudge influencer content. I don't know how that's a thing. Now, Gary Muirhead says, have you come back from Bauma this time saying this will be my last, or is there plenty more in you? The ultimate decision on that will not be down to me. Obviously, it will be down to my health, I would have thought, and my fast advancing years. But I did get Fred to take a very, very quick video, which is going to be part of a bigger video. I walked past a sign that said, see you in 2028, because I am fully planning to be there in 2028. That's what I'm planning to do. Now, my knees and my hips could fall off between now and then. Lungs could collapse. Yeah, well, all of those things could happen. But if I'm upright and if I've still got all my faculties, and some might argue that I probably don't have those at the moment, then I will be at Bauma 2028. Chris Ford says, to play the guitar and draw my state pension before Trump takes it. Well, yeah. the less said about Trump, the better. Wouldn't it be nice? And I was thinking of this last night. You can block people on social media platforms, but I've looked really hard, and I can't find a way to block the word Trump, particularly on LinkedIn. LinkedIn used to be a bit of a haven. It was where people in business talked about, hey, guess what? Business. Now it seems I turned it on and there's that orange boat race looking back at me. Could really do without that, particularly after I just had my breakfast. Steve says none of them had a chance to operate the big 400 and leave here. They jump around talking about it, and that's about it. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's a funny old game. It is, and I'm not entirely sure if all of that is really serving the audience. Um, part of the job of a journalist, and frankly, that is what I still count myself as, is to inform, to educate, sometimes to entertain, but by and large, to inform and to educate. What what are you educating if you're just dancing in front of a machine, or what? Pardon my French, but what the fuck is all that about? Don't get it. Jim Turner says on the question of the day, two main goals are building my house, and my two modular units are being delivered over the weekend very soon. And the second goal is to get into that machine development and testing. Love to see all this happen for all you, really would. And Steve says, no matter what, Bauma will always be the greatest event, no matter how many times you go. I agree. Although I would say, and maybe it was because I ticked off my checklist completely this time. I have to say, I mean, my first ever Bauma was an incredible event because I'd never seen anything quite like it. But I have to say, and you know, I've been to 3 others with Fred, so it wasn't just the fact that I was with my son. I came back thinking that was the best one yet. I thoroughly enjoyed every single minute of it. Didn't necessarily enjoy all the accommodation that we had. The location was fine, nice and near some very good restaurants and all that kind of thing, but bloody cold in the evening. And I don't know what the guy that we were in an Airbnb, and I don't know what the owner had done, but it didn't matter what you did to the heating. It basically said, okay, we'll put the temperature up to 30 degrees, now 20, day in, day out. And one morning we woke up, no hot water. Yeah, I listen, my age, a cold shower is the last thing you need first thing in the morning, but I did it because, you know, I don't want to be that whiffy guy walking around Bauma. Anyway, all of this is beside the point. Keep those coming in. I will need to show you our mystery machine again. There is a little bit of it, and there is a little bit more. It's very famous, this machine. Very famous indeed. There was one at the Bauma. Don't know if that helps you at all. Keep the guesses coming in, and also keep us up to date with what goals are you working towards. Gary Muir says he'd like to learn a new language, Italian, which I fully commend. I'd like to do that myself, or Swedish. Is this so you can commune with those fine folks at Steel Wrist? If it is, I can tell you they probably speak better English than you, Gary. You know that. You've dealt with them. They're a fine bunch of people, and they speak perfect English, unlike me. Anywho, it is time to press on with a bit of this. Bauma 2025 had a couple, 3 major showstoppers, I would say. The big 9400, which Mr. Williamson took for a spin. The PC 7000, which Mr. Williamson had a bit of a go in. Not driving it, but he was certainly in the seat. And there was one other, and that was the Land Cross One concept machine from Hitachi. Now, we've actually produced a film of our own on this, which gets behind how it was developed and why it was developed and everything else. But while we're working on that, we thought we'd show you exactly what Hitachi have in mind for the Land Cross One.
take over.
Now, clearly, the machine that they had on display on the Hitachi stand was very much a prototype, a concept, not a complete machine. But man alive, it looked brilliant. And I have to say, and it was only when we went on the balcony upstairs to look down on the machine that you could see there's a helipad for a drone on the back of the machine. There really is. Really thinking outside the box. Fantastic piece of kit. Now, whether we will ever actually see that living and breathing and doing its thing, who the hell knows? I know over in the motor industry, that's often not the case. You see these outlandish concepts and prototypes that never actually make it into metal form. But that, everything about it, it looked like they took. But what if? What if we could do this? What if we could do that? And there's some fantastic stuff within that. As I say, we've got a film of our own coming up on that, which I'll be delighted to show you in the next couple of days or weeks or thereabouts. Going back to our mystery machine, I think this is Dan's guess of that. The Senebogen wheeled duck. You couldn't be further from the right answer if you tried. Let me show you a bit more. There you are. There's some tracks there. Anybody got any thoughts on what that might be? Keep the guesses coming. I know we'll be right back. We're going back to Bauma to see how the Shantui stand came together. Back after this.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Yeah, Steve's rightly said you wouldn't want to get the tracks dirty. The way that they presented that machine, and as I say, it is a prototype, it is a concept, but it was on bright orange, what looked like heavy-duty plastic tracks. And they looked beautiful. To be honest, it was the colour that did it for me, like that like a brushed aluminium. It wasn't chrome, but it was somewhere near, and just looked like, you know, if you could have your dream machine, what would it look like? It'd look a lot like that, and fantastic stuff. Yes, Shantui with it. I didn't get to see them actually. One of those that I missed, but you can't see everything, unfortunately. But this is how they put their stand together. I'll come. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll answer this one from Dan first. Will Shantui be making landfall in the UK? They are going to be at Plant Works, apparently. Luke Harney told us that just a day or two before I went to Bauma. So yes, they are planning to be here. One of the things that amuses me about those sort of videos, and about the exhibition business in itself, the amount of time that the exhibitors spend polishing their machines. There's a guy usually with a paintbrush blackening the tires to make them look really stand out. And in other words, they're basically making them look as unlike anything that you encounter on site as you possibly can. When was the last time you walked on site and saw a machine with jet black tires and polished paintwork? Weird, right? Steve says Traxcavator, maybe a hint for you. There you are. Show me you a little bit more. Does that help at all? As I say, there was one tucked away over in the Bauma exhibition. See what you can come up with. I'm still looking for a make and a model. Be awful if I won 2 on the trot, wouldn't it? We're coming back with Caterpillar technology in just a moment.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
Yeah, the Caterpillar stand at Bauma was a bit of an odd mix. The company was celebrating its 100th anniversary, and that whole anniversary celebration was built around Bauma. But they were also looking to the future and harnessing technology, not unlike every other manufacturer there. But this is how Caterpillar went about it.
This week at Bauma 2025, Caterpillar is showcasing its most extensive view of the construction technology portfolio in our history. This week, our machines, our Caterpillar Performance Center, and many of the live demonstrations we're doing in the CAT Command space are really bringing those technologies to life for customer. So let's go to the Caterpillar Performance Center and see what we can find out.
Welcome to our Caterpillar Performance Centers. Here, our customers can discover all our technologies. First, we have CatGrade. CatGrade is helping operators to hit on targets. It means that they will help them to grade exactly on the targets with less passes and faster. Then we have different safety technologies, and more specifically DSS, the driver system, which here is displayed. So what does it mean? It means that when a driver falls asleep, the camera will detect his eye closing and the seat will shake and provide an alert. And to finish, we also have VisionLink. So what is VisionLink? Is our ecosystem. All machines are equipped with different radio and are providing data, fuel utilization, location, predictions. All these information are available into VisionLink. So now that we have done a little tour about what technologies, I will go to CAT Commands and let you discover what is CAT Commands.
This is our CAT Command portfolio of remote control, semi-autonomous and autonomous solutions. So let's start with remote control. This is where we take the operator out of the machine and into our CAT Command station. The operator can access all of the technology that's built into the machine, things like e-fence and traction control on a dozer, all the way up to our machine control and guidance system, CatGrade. This allows the operator to remain productive and safe while on the CAT Command station. Then we move to our semi-autonomous solutions. So the CAT Command semi-autonomous compaction means that we can compact a pad with a compactor where the operator takes over that task. And finally, all the way up to our autonomous systems where the operator is completely removed from the machine. On a haul truck, for example, the truck will autonomously move from the load area all the way to the dump and return, enabling a fully autonomous site to run on machines like our 777 and 775 coming to the quarry and aggregate environment.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
I hope you really enjoy this tour at the Performance Center. I hope you have understood that thanks to our technology, your operations could be faster, safer, and more efficient. If you want to know more, please come and join us until Sunday at Bauma All Basics.
Or reach out to your local CAT dealer.
We've had some good guesses on our mystery machine, which I'll come to in just a moment. Nobody's got it right yet, although some are very much hitting the post. I'm going to go over to this from Steve Williamson, who says, "Not sure about you, Mark, but the smell when you walk into the hall with all the new machines was so good." There are many things about this industry that people don't realise, and the smell is one of them. The smell in the halls, Steve, I'm 100% with you. The smell when you got into a brand new machine, the new cab smell, it's not the same as a new car smell, which always smells a bit artificial to me, but the smell of a new machine cab is fantastic. But also the smell of a used cab, the smell of a workshop that's got a bit of oil or diesel spilled on it. Just, yeah, right up the hooter. Says, meeting the man himself from East Coast Demolition was a great highlight. Maybe see a trip over after Colexpo next year. It's amazing when you have a fan that's some outstanding demolition equipment. I forgot to give you some stickers, Mark, that I got from him. I've got your stickers, but I didn't get the East Coast ones, which is unfortunate. But yeah, great company, love them to death. Now, we do have some good guesses, as I've already said. Steve Williamson tried to give people a clue. He said Traxcavator was a bit of a hint. Dan Cullen bit the bullet and said the Cat 951. It's not, but you're close. He also said the Cat D2. It's not. Chris Ward, also close with a Holt 10 tractor. He also went with a Holt 75. It's not the Cat D2 Traxcavator, and it's not the Holt Model 20. But you're all within touching distance of what it actually is. There you are. There's a little bit more. Keep the guesses coming, would you? What have we got next? Oh, I know. We're doing a stand tour, and we're doing a stand tour with Hidromek right after this. I can tell you we have a winner on our mystery machine, and that winner is none other than Mr. Turner, who correctly identified it is indeed a Cat Model 60, Diesel 60, call it what you will, but that's exactly what it is, and I can prove it to you. There you are. There was one on the Caterpillar stand. That is a Cat Diesel 60. That's what I've got written down, but a Cat 60 will do just very nicely indeed. Well done, Jim. You've got your 3 points in the can. Keeps things interesting for the remainder. I'm going to do this one first, and then I'm going to actually show you what he's talking about. Gary Muirhead says, a lot of people have written off Hidromek in the UK, but I've driven a few, as my friend is a Scottish dealer. As a Scottish dealer, I must say they're really good machines. Just give them a chance. I agree 100%. In actual fact, I can prove it. I can prove just how good they are in just a moment. Dan Cullen saying, congratulations, Jim. Gary saying exactly the same. Let me take you around. Yeah, grasp my hand. Let me walk you through the Hidromek stand at Bauma. Welcome back to the Breakfast Show at Bauma. We're heading for a bit of Turkish delight next. We're actually going to the Hidromek stand. Don't see too many Hidromeks in the UK, but it's always a great opportunity to catch up with them at a show like this. So let's go and take a look around. Okay, we're going to start our tour of the Hidromek stand with the backhoe loaders. Moving on to some of the larger excavators, obviously a bit more from the backhoes there. Onto the larger excavators. Take a shortcut through the middle of the stand. There is just something about machines in white. Looks awesome. In keeping with the rest of the major exhibitors, here, There is a technology zone on the Hidromek stand as well. I think anybody that watches our show with any regularity will know how much we love their Opera cab. Well, there's a representation of it in simulator form, but let's stick outside, go past the HMK 230 LC. Some fantastic looking machines here, I have to say. Now let's go and take a look at something just a little bit different. Pretty obvious what it is, but you will notice there is a lack of cab. Which is ironic given the fact that one of the best things about Hidromek is their cabs. No cab on that one. And there's also no cab on this one either. HMK 630 WL wheel loader. I'm assuming this is electric. Pretty sure it is. Massive bucket on there. If electric's not your thing, Hidromek can hook you up with a hydrogen version instead. Do a very quick left because there's a few more machines down here. There's a grade around the front, which I'll get to in just a moment. We've got some of their larger excavators, including a demolition machine. The 410 DHR high reach demolition machine. I think the largest machine on their stand is this one. HMK 800 LC HD. It's an absolute beast of a machine, that is. And I did promise you a very quick look at the Hidromek grader. Coming up any time right about now. Great display from Hidromek. Love to see a few more of their machines in the UK. Let us know. What do you think? What do you think to the Hidromek brand? Well, we've already had an answer to that. Dan Collins says, what does he say? Hidromek do look a lovely machine. I think somebody else said something about that. Steve also said Hidromek, really good looking, really good machines, lots of power. He also said, did you see the footage of the Mouse Valley plant incident when unloading a track machine? Wow, I have not seen that. Bit busy yesterday, so not entirely sure what that's all about, but I'll go and look that up. Dan Khan says, don't know, but I'd still prefer a raised cab to a tilted cab on a demo machine. Horses for courses, Dad. Horses for courses. And Dan wants to go and have a bit of a spin on a Hidromek machine. Gary Muirhead said, I'll send you his details. You can speak to him directly. When you're back up in Scotland, we can organise it. See, this is how this show works. And more of that. Unity of the industry. Immediately after, well, I've said goodbye, basically, because that's about it for the main part of this morning show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into my morning monologue. If you can't stick around for that, do please stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. Hope to see you again very soon. But if you do have the time and the inclination, I will be back immediately after this. More than 600,000 people passed through the Messermunchen turnstiles during the Bauma 2025 exhibition. To put that into context, that's a Wembley Stadium capacity crowd each day of the 6-day event, and a veritable sea of people. There would have been some that were there as exhibitors, each looking to clinch a new deal or meet a new all-important customer. There would have been some that were there with a very specific shopping list, looking to identify the machines and attachments needed to supplement their equipment fleets. There will have been some that attended purely to walk among the giant machines, collect brochures and baseball caps as they did so. And of course, there would have been a small number who, like myself, went armed not with a checkbook, but with a camera. A strange ragtag band of journalists, content creators, and so called influencers. But regardless of what it said on our respective name badges and business cards, we were all drawn to Munich by a single irresistible force. A force that pulled us from around the world to the Bavarian city like a tractor beam. And that force is the love of demolition and construction equipment. How else could you possibly explain why more than 500,000 people gave up a day or an entire week of their life to visit Bauma? How else would you explain the queues of people waiting at the turnstiles each morning just to get a glimpse of the machines within? How else do you explain the conversations taking place on the stands and in the aisles at the show that continued in the bars and restaurants in the city that continued in the bars and restaurants of the city each evening? At a time when the US seems intent on creating a trade war to end all trade wars, those conversations cross geographic, language, gender, and cultural barriers. Because in the field of heavy equipment, there is a single unifying and all-encompassing language that is spoken and understood the world over. It's the language of tonnage, horsepower, reach and breakout force. It's the language of metal and hydraulics. And whether you speak German or Japanese, Spanish or Swahili, when you stand in front of a new excavator, a high-reach machine, or a massive wheel loader, words become secondary because the machine speaks for itself. Bauma isn't just a trade show. It's where heavy iron worshippers come to lay their hands on the holy relics of their trade. It's where you see a 400-ton machine displayed on a polished plinth like a jewel. It's where engineers, operators, company owners, and enthusiasts alike can lose hours debating whether that new quick coupler will stand up to demolition forces, or whether that electric mini excavator truly has the guts for a full shift on site. What makes this even more remarkable is the range of people it attracts. I spoke to a husband and wife from the Czech Republic, both utterly transfixed by a new skid steer loader. I shared a coffee with a woman from America who runs a fleet of excavators and was looking for some new telematics solution. I stood shoulder to shoulder with an apprentice from Scotland who was there on his first overseas trip, visibly awestruck and taking it all in like a sponge. You see, this love of machinery, this fascination, runs deeper than mere utility. For many of us, these machines are more than equipment. They're part of our identity. Ask any operator what they run, and you'll likely get a response that includes the brand, the model, and maybe even a nickname. These machines become extensions of who we are and how we work. We remember our first excavator like some remember their first car. We can recall the feel of a particular cab, the sound of a certain engine, the way that a certain attachment just felt right. And there's something powerful in realizing that feeling isn't isolated. That halfway across the world, there's someone else who understands exactly what you mean, even if you don't share a single word in common. The power of Bauma and the broader equipment community is in its ability to unite people through that shared experience. It's a reminder that behind every machine is a human story of design innovation, of risk and reward, of sweat, setbacks, and sometimes even salvation. You hear about the contractor who started with one backhoe and now runs a multinational firm. You meet the inventor who saw a gap in the market and built a business from nothing but an idea and a welding torch. You hear tales of struggle, reinvention, and persistence, and always an unshakable belief in the machines that built their futures. Yes, we're in an industry that's tough, unpredictable, and often undervalued. But spend a few days at Bauma and you'll see something you rarely find in more polished or corporate sectors. Passion. Not the rehearsed, buzzword-laden enthusiasm you get from a press release, but genuine, eyes lit up, childlike excitement. Grown men and women pointing at machinery the size of a house with the same glee that others reserve for celebrity sightings or sports finals. It's not just about big iron either. It's about what it represents. Possibility. Every new machine promises more productivity, more safety, more sustainability. Every conversation between competitors, collaborators, or complete strangers is an exchange of knowledge and perspective. Every handshake is an opportunity. I saw a British excavator expert teaching an Let me do that again. I saw a British excavator expert teaching an Australian about high reach demolition excavators. And in that moment, nationalities blurred, cultures blended. All that remained was mutual respect for the machines and for each other. Perhaps more importantly, in the age of digital noise and increasingly virtual lives, there's something grounding, almost primal about being among the machines, about climbing into the cab, smelling that new cab smell, touching the steel. It reconnects us with something real, something tangible. It reminds us that at its core, construction and demolition are about shaping the physical world. That while the world obsesses over code and algorithms, tariffs and trade wars, there are still people out there who move mountains, who tear down cities, and then build them anew. And so, as the sun set over Munich each evening and crowds spilled out into the beer gardens and side streets, you could feel it. The camaraderie, the community, the connection. People from every continent laughing over a shared beer, poring over photos of machines they'd seen, already planning their return. We live in a time of division. Borders are hardening. Politics are polarizing. Technology often isolates more than it connects. But in the shadow of excavators and dozers, in the roar of engines and the hum of conversation, something beautiful happens. The world feels smaller, closer, more human. Because that's what heavy equipment does. It doesn't just lift loads, it lifts people, it brings them together. It speaks in a voice of horsepower and hydraulics, and it says, "You're not alone." So, to all of those who travelled hundreds and even thousands of miles to Munich to be near the machines they love, know this: you are part of something bigger. You're part of a tribe that crosses borders and boundaries, part of a story that is still being written, one machine, one connection, and one conversation at a time. Bauma, see? An almost religious experience. It will live long in the memory, I have to say. What have we got? What have we got here? Steve says, booths that had the biggest cranes, biggest excavators to a booth, selling and promoting O-rings and washers. Yeah. Yeah. Do you know the funny thing is, I did take a wrong turn a couple of times. Excuse me. Did take a wrong turn. There are halls at Bauma that I never visit because it's widgets and gadgets and stuff. But I did. I took a wrong turn, found myself in one of those halls, and there were people queuing to talk about O-rings and springs and bits of aluminium that I couldn't honestly identify. They absolutely were. And if you talk to somebody outside of this industry and tell them, I tell them I'm a journalist. Oh, brilliant. What do you write about? Demolition and construction. And their eyes glaze over because they don't get it. But if you're in the demolition and construction business, you get it. I guess if you're in the O-ring business, you get that too. If you're into hydraulics, if you work for Pertec or UK Hose or something like that, you probably live and breathe hydraulic hoses and couplings, and that's what you love. Gary Muirhead says, I love the names we've given our equipment. Big Geordie, the Dragline, Gravel Charlie, the Volvo dump truck, and the Cat 943 as a drop. Do we know any more nicknames of plant and equipment? It's a good one. Yeah, that is a good one. I know some of the big walking draglines all had nicknames. There was it the Ace of Spades and stuff like that? Loads of those had it. Steve says, that's what amazed me at Bauma, to the likes of the UK, from people from all over the world. Everyone was happy, all so kind, wanted you to succeed and not hope you fuck up. That's the best feeling at Bauma. Yeah. Yeah. And, here's the thing. And this is very peculiar to the strange little bit of the industry that I occupy, that little dark corner over here. There are lots of people out there trying to make a name for themselves as influencers, content creators, and it is because it's a fledgling business, and they're all convinced that they're owed a living and stuff like that. It is a bit dog eat dog at the moment. They will quite happily tread on you to get above you in some way, and it goes on. And hey, I'm sure it's the same in any business. But what I found really interesting is those that are biggest in that area of the business, for example, the guys at Awesome Earth Movers, could not be more helpful if they tried. Weird that, isn't it? Yeah, if you're an upstart, you've got 2,000 followers on Instagram, and you fancy yourself as the next Aaron Witt, can turn you into a bit of a tit. And yet, if you've made it, if you've got your millions of followers around the world, you can just go back to being a thoroughly decent human being. Chris McGuinness, I'm looking at you, thoroughly decent human being. Gary Muirhead says, was the worthy advertiser there? Yes. Yeah. Fred was on top of a Komatsu dozer. There was a dozer parked off to one side outside the demo area, and he'd got himself on top of it so that he could film the PC7000 working. So I was sat down below, basically holding the bags because we couldn't take them up on top. And yes, that person from that worthy advertiser walked past, and for the first time in about 5 years, I don't think he could help himself, spotted me and went, "All right, Mark." And I'll reenact what I did to him. There you go. That's exactly what I did. Not a word, not a change of expression, just jog on, pal. You and I are not as one. So yeah, one thing that I will tell you about, and I will play it for you. I've just said we were outside the Komatsu stand. Komatsu had an outside area, PC7000, big dump truck, big wheel load, a bunch of other kit on there as well, including the PC390 high reach with the K100 interchange system as well. But also they had a stand inside as well, where they had the concept skid steers, the new PC220, and so on down the line. Just to give you a sense of scale, I decided I'd go to the end of that hall, and that hall, they're kind of interlinked. And that hall at the far end was where Volvo had their all-electric display, which then went into the Komatsu bit, which then went into the Caterpillar bit. And I basically fired up my mobile phone, stuck it on a selfie stick, and I walked the length of that one area. It took me 4.5 minutes just to go past Volvo, Komatsu, and Caterpillar. Yeah, and bearing in mind, I think there's 8 halls plus all the outside areas as well. Just goes on and on and on. Again, being very quiet about this because apparently you weren't really supposed to do it. Fred got the drone up in the air, and we took it off from the Hitachi stand just by the KTEC Kiesel display and put it up. And he took it up to not max height, but took it up a long way. Looked back, there's a radio mast, which is kind of a famous landmark at Bauma, and he looked towards that. And from our vantage point, you couldn't actually see where Bauma ended. It's that big. Dan says, "Oh man, you're making me so jealous. How did your sneakers do?" They did really, really well. Yeah, they held up very well. The only thing I would say is they changed color. They were all black when I left. They're all black again now because I washed them. But after 2 days, because a lot of people put down stone chips around their stands, my sneakers, my trainers were grey, a very pale grey. But banged them together and gave them a bit of a wash, and they're back to being black again. But no, they withstood the rigors very, very well. One thing that I was reminded, and I did sit very close to a stand of one of the magazine publishers, one of the lesser publishers, and there were people there in suits and shirts and ties and and business type shoes. I did probably 8 Baumas like that. Excuse me. Yeah, we used to be required to go and do it in a suit, shirt, tie, and business type shoes. Absolute bloody agony. What do we got here? Garvin's over on LinkedIn. Morning, Garvin. Centennial Cat Grey, he says. It was the Cat 60, the Diesel 60. Peter McKenna's here. Hope everyone else is okay. I'm doing very well, and I love your picture, by the way, Peter. Let's have a look. Gary Muirhead says, "Did I see you with a pint of beer in your hand?" It wasn't just in my hand. I did indulge. I had a couple of pints. Well, a couple of liters. Who knows? No, we went out one evening and ordered the schnitzel, and a schnitzel is best served with a Bavarian beer. So I had one of the dark beers, which was very good, bit Guinnessy in taste, not as thick and substantial, but a bit Guinnessy. That was quite nice. And then on the final day, our final day in Munich, we went to the Hofbrauhaus, the big beer keller, probably the best known in the whole of Munich, for sausages and sauerkraut. And again, it did require a beer. I actually had the Hofbrauhaus. I guess it's a lager of some description, but yeah, very nice. Very nice it was. Am I getting the taste back for it? A little bit. I was trying to convince myself that it was when in Rome, indulge. I was nowhere near Rome, and it was really quite pleasant. Dan Cullen says, "To be honest, what's the point of removing all the holes? What's the point of removing all the holes and that they're only taken down for a while? All the holes remain. No, the holes do remain. The holes, the Messermünchen is a permanent fixture, and once Bauma is over, there will be other exhibitions for cars and I don't know, the beauty industry or whatever it might be. All of that will remain. What does go away is the outside stands. All of that vanishes over a period of weeks and months, only to be rebuilt 3 years down the line. The reason we can't get enough of machinery is because it's our passion. Plenty of folk follow sport in the same way. I know folk that spend a fortune going to sporting events. Not my bag, but I can see why. The only sport I do is shooting, but apart from that, it's all machinery for me. Yeah, and listen, it's a weird thing, and I used to mock it openly when I worked for Reed Business Publishing. We had magazines like Cage and Aviary Bird for people that were into collecting birds and stuff. If you're not into that, it seems like a really bizarre thing to be into. And yet, that magazine sold tens of thousands. Subscribers literally around the world who were waiting on their every word. My dad was a very keen fisherman, but wasn't the most sociable person. But once a year they'd have a big fishing exhibition up at the NEC, and he didn't miss. He had no intention of no reason to go to Birmingham other than the exhibition. Didn't stay there, went there and back in the day, but would go up there and would just live and breathe the stuff. And mix with the people and share stories and all that kind of thing. It's exactly the same. Gary says, "I would love to do the Munich Beer Festival. I don't think the liver could." It's heavy duty, I have to say. I have to say, it's much nicer to do it out of season. I mean, if you go to Munich Centre, there are lots of, there's the Hofbrauhaus, there's Erdinger and various other places. Lots of beer halls that actually make their own beer. They brew it on site. There's no additives or preservatives. I was telling Fred this story. First time I ever did a Bauma, went out one evening and was drinking. Oh, this is back when I was a professional with these things. I went out and was drinking, and they were serving, I don't know, like maybe a litre or so of beer, quite dark. And when they actually poured it, it was like 90% head and just a tiny little bit of beer at the bottom. So while you were waiting for that to settle itself down and to be topped up, they would give you almost like a vase of this really light beer. So you'd have a light beer and a darker one, a light beer and a darker one. Well, this started about 3 o'clock in the afternoon and went on to about 3 o'clock in the morning. So as you can imagine, by the time I fell into bed, I was feeling no pain. I was pretty. I wasn't even 3 sheets to the wind. I was probably about 7. But I've been told by our local, we don't put additives and preservatives in our beer. That's why you don't get a hangover. As I say, because as a professional drinker at the time, I woke up the following morning and braced myself for that clamping feeling you get around your head with a hangover. And later I thought, this is going to be bad. I know exactly what I did yesterday. This is going to be bad. Nothing at all. The hangover that I so richly deserved failed to materialize. Now, whether there's any truth in that additives and preservatives thing, I don't know. Whether I don't know, is the beer fresher? I don't know. But whatever it is, it does do the job. Really does. Jim Turner says, Gary, my mate has a brewery. Check out Fire Rock Brewery. He makes some good stuff. The weird thing is, one of our family friends is into, these craft beers, and he'll go from place to place to sample not ales, but actual craft beers. Don't get it myself. Maybe because I didn't drink for taste back in my drinking days. I used to drink for effect. There you are. Dan says, great show. Thank you very much indeed. You said that yesterday. Thank you very much. What can I say? I've got my second wind. I was saying to somebody while I was at Bauma, one of my concerns with Bauma being over is there was all this stuff that I'd planned to do and had put off because I couldn't concentrate until Bauma was out of the way. Well, Bauma's out of the way now, so I've got a to-do list that's about, stretches from here to Croydon, basically. But I'm okay with that. As I say, I've returned feeling a little bit tired. I had about 8 hours sleep last night. Wish it had been 12, but not doing too badly. So thank you, Dan. Much appreciated. And Gary is going to check out Fire Rock Brewery. Is that in your part of the world, by the way? Dan Cullen says, you missed my comment on pick. Did I? Oh, yeah, there we are. My apologies. Peter's done a pick for me too. A classic. Is that on the WhatsApp group? I think that went through when I was driving, actually. And Steve says, you can't say no to German beer. I have for many years. But I'm a little more welcoming these days. Only in moderation. For medicinal purposes. I have to lubricate my parts, given my advancing years. Anyway, people, that's an hour. I have things to do, people to see. I'll be back tomorrow for more of the same. Just on the Fire Rock thing, he's in Sutton in Ashfield, Nottinghamshire. So yes, very much in Jim's part of the world. So next time I'm up that way, Fire Rock Brewery may well get a visit. I'll have to go by train because, just in case things do get messy. I'll be back tomorrow, and we've got, can I tell you, I tried to do this yesterday and failed. We do actually have a few more of our stand walkarounds coming for you. We've got both Hydrema and Mechalak. Probably won't do both, and I've got some more to prepare as well. So I'll keep you posted on that. But we'll be back tomorrow with yet more of the same. Given the nature of these discussions, I didn't do a recap yesterday. Probably won't do one today either because it's just been sort of following the same theme. But we will get back to normal service once Bauma has kind of faded into the background. Dan Cullen says, have a fantastic day, guys. I shall echo what Dan has just said. Everybody go and have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow for yet more of the same. Till then, have a good one. All the best.